Getting a new phone just overwhelms you with a feeling of joy. Everything works a little faster, just a little smoother, but what if that's just from the thing being fresh right out of the box? That's why I wanted to test both experiences new, starting with the unbox. There isn't much difference there. A simple yet elegant box is stayed with pretty much the same concept here. Now unpacking the phone, the S25 looks a little thinner. It's also 14 grams lighter. That's something you hardly notice in hand though, especially when using a case. The rounded corners do stand out a bit and I kinda like it. Then let's boot both of these up with a timer. So fresh out of the box, the S24 did just a fraction better. It took almost 5 seconds longer to get a clickable button on the S25, but perhaps that's because of the more intricate animations on the S25. And yes, as a YouTuber, I want my phone's camera to perform well, but other than that, I'm just a casual user. So I wanted to test these where it will matter for most casual users like me. Let's dig into opening YouTube and loading a video. The S24 was the fastest here with 4.82 seconds as opposed to 5.2 seconds on the S25. I didn't feel I had to wait at all on either, which is perfect. There's nothing more frustrating than waiting for something to load. The S25 does feel just a little bit faster with a lot of windows open and scrolling through it though. It also feels a lot more polished in animations and movement. Now the S25 should have been a little faster given it has the new 3nm Snapdragon while the S24 has the 4nm. But I feel that in every step they've sacrificed speed for smoother and better looking animation. And the UI does look a lot cleaner and smoother on the S25. That latest gen Snapdragon should also help with battery life, so having them both fresh out of the box allows us a fair test of battery life, since that's the first thing to wear out on an already used device. Now I'm just going to play video on both all day and see which battery survives the longest. They say you should expect an extra hour of video playback on the S25 from the increased efficiency, so I'm eager to test that out. The S25's battery did drain a lot faster in my test though, being at 37% while the S24 was still at 53%. That's a 30% decrease in performance, which kinda surprised me. But taking them with me on a photo shoot all morning, I'll get to the photo results of that in a little bit, left the battery of the S25 with 88% and the S24 with 84%. A 30% increase in performance in favor of the S25. So it seems the increase in battery life is mainly because of more efficient handling of tasks. That is something the performance increase in the newer Snapdragon promised, but it doesn't seem to translate to just having the thing on and watching some videos by itself per se. I also want to test the screens, so let's put them on full brightness and see how bright they can get. Both the S24 and 25 Ultra have a peak brightness of 2600 nits on paper. Testing that, the S25 has a top brightness of 492 lux, while the S24 tops off at 459 lux at a given white pixel on the screen. In the dark, that means them looking like this, although you're probably never going to need a screen that bright. The screen on the S25 is gotten just a little bit bigger because the bezels are thinner, ever so slightly. So it gives you a little extra screen. Let's test the screen and performance on the game and install Fortnite. I like the colors and smoothness on the S25, but the S24 isn't far behind. The S24 Ultra is still perfectly suited for playing games like this, but perhaps it will fall behind slightly in the coming years as games develop and get more demanding. But I certainly couldn't detect anything like that as we stand right now. In bright light, I also couldn't detect any discernible difference in glare with the new coating on the S25, but there is some upgrade there, and it also has the new Gorilla Glass 2 for even more protection and scratch resistance. The S Pen had a redesign as well. I was frantically trying to click it for our next test, the photos, but it doesn't have Bluetooth support anymore like the S24 does, so that's kind of a bummer. Then I also want to get into that final and important test, the video and photo capabilities with the cameras. The S25 Ultra has the same cameras as the S24 and everything but the ultra wide lens. So let's test them all in quality. Here's the 200 megapixel main front camera on both. They both look great, and that's because it's the same lens. The reflection on the water is a little bit more natural on the S25, but I like the way the S24 captured the glass in the house at the back. It's just a little bit more contrast, even though it's at the cost of looking natural. The colors on this reed and grass in full sunlight are a little more natural looking than on the S24, so it's closer to what it actually looked like outside. I think that's a matter of taste almost, but I was kinda hoping the S25 would do a little bit better because of the added AI. This video against the sun, for example, I think it's a little bit darker on the S25 Ultra, or it overcompensated a bit. Where there's lots of light at nighttime, the S25 did a lot better, compensating for shine and glimmer on surfaces, for example. So that was quite nice to see. Shooting video with both, I couldn't tell the difference in stabilization when walking or running. Even turning the camera pretty fast resulted in the same type of motion blur. But even here with video, the one from the S24 is a lot brighter than the S25, at the cost of some weird glare or artifacts at some points in the video against the sun. You do get a little benefit of AI when editing the videos on the S25 because of the audio eraser, for example, which lets you isolate and remove background noise in your videos. Selfie on the front camera is also a bit overly bright on the S24, I think, and this was at pretty low light. On the S25, I was able to select which type of tone I wanted for my selfies. Now let's do some zooms with the 10 megapixel 3x telephoto and 50 megapixel 5x telephoto on both. Both images look great as ever on 5x zoom, eyes looks cool on 10x zoom, but I hope the Pro Visual Engine that's new on the S25 Ultra would be able to help with some automatic AI adjustments here. But it's not. The AI only seems to kick in with higher zoom levels where digital zoom enters the picture, as it were. Like on this castle, for example, this is shot at 30x and the S25 is a lot sharper when you zoom in on the main tower. The distinction between the red and white on the window panels and the brighter roof tiles makes it stand out from the S24 photo. When you look at a 100x zoom photo, the difference is even greater. The S24 just overcompensated with the reds here, which looks quite unnatural. But I don't know if the S25 did better because of AI or because it didn't use AI here to compensate. And finally, the ultra wide camera. Both offer a 120-degree field of view, but I don't see any improvement from the new 50 megapixel camera on the S25, unfortunately, compared to the 12 megapixel one on the S24. Looking at photos taken on both, I think it's actually slightly worse. I kind of like the sun glare on the S24 here, and there's a little more detail on the table and cup at low light. Looking at the reed and grass again, but now with the ultra wide lens, the difference in yellow and green is the same as with the 200 megapixel main camera, just a little more natural on the S25. Macro photography looks cool on both phones if you're into that. These can capture some stunning images, but here's where you can start to see a slight difference in quality, because with the S25's 50 megapixel ultra wide lens, that's also used for macro photography. Colors on this moss are far more natural, for example, and so are the ice crystals on this mushroom. The hardware is mostly the same, but it does come with some new software updates, like new AI features that I found really cool. You can ask Gemini to perform in-app functions now, like add something to your calendar or set an alarm based on specific searches. They call that cross-app functionality. It's able to do that because it works in conjunction with Bixby. I'm definitely going to use that. You can also use AI in searching the settings, so it'll understand what you mean even if you don't know the exact name of a setting in the menu. It could help a lot of people. I do like the new UI on the phone. You can basically change anything on it to fit your needs. I also like that they took away the navigation buttons at the bottom as a standard, so you can use swipe gestures instead. It just works a little faster. And you have a new Now bar on your lock screen, which shows you your most important activities in a very stylish way. So, if I were to score these with both phones new out of the box, I'd say the S24 Ultra did better in the pure speed department. The UI and smoothness were a lot better on the S25 Ultra, perhaps at the cost of pure speed performance here. The screen on the S25 was better. Then into the cameras, the brightness of the S24 was better by a long shot, but the S25 was much more true to life. And the wide angle shots on the S24 performed better, but going into the macro shots, the S25 did really shine here. At low light, I found the S24 to perform better, but at low light, looking at bright light sources, the S25 did magnificently. Looking at it like this, the S25 scored a little more points on the board, but it's all very marginal, especially given the extra $350 price tag. So I'd say it isn't always necessary to buy the newest device. And sometimes perhaps all you need is give your old device a reboot, and then make sure everything is clean and clear again, just as it was as you first bought it.